Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about the psychology of a criminal. What causes someone to engage in illegal activity, and if there's anything that we can do to prevent or stop it. But before we jump into that, are you new to my channel? Welcome! I release videos on Mondays and on Thursdays, so make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on so you don't miss out. First, I think it's important to understand what parts of the brain are involved in our decision making, because really we're making a decision to engage in illegal behavior. Now first, there is the amygdala, which you probably heard me talk about before, and it's a small almond-shaped portion of our temporal lobe. It's kind of like in the middle of our brain, but over here maybe. And it's responsible for emotions, survival instincts, and memory. And I've talked about this portion when it comes to managing trauma or upset, because the amygdala is like our brain's fire alarm, and it sounds that alarm when we are upset or angry. And when we're children, they believe that it's the amygdala that can cause us to throw tantrums. Next, there's the frontal lobe. Yes, it's just like it sounds. It's at the very front of our brain, behind our forehead. Now this portion of our brain is responsible for emotional expression, problem solving, memory, language, judgment, and sexual behaviors. It is, in essence, the control panel of our personality and our ability to communicate. Last, there's the hippocampus. This is part of our limbic system, and it's connected to our amygdala as well. It's responsible for memory, and more specifically, our long-term memory. Now, the reason I bring up these different portions of the brain is because when these areas are damaged, underdeveloped, or affected in any way, they can cause us to be easily upset or aggressive, make poor decisions, and not remember any punishment that we may have received as a result. It is believed that these portions of the brain are involved in someone becoming a criminal because they overall shape who we are and how we interact with those around us. Second, it's important to note that if we grew up around people who were committing crimes or harming others in front of us, we can be slowly conditioned to believe that that's normal and what's okay to do in life. Just like we can notice ourselves acting like another member of our family, in the way we talk or gesture. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like my mom. Those who are raised by criminals or sociopaths can pick up on their actions and mannerisms in the same way and act them out accordingly. In psychology, we call this observational learning. Now, there are obviously other ways to learn. Like if we're jumped into a gang, meaning like almost beat to death to get into the gang, it happens. Just ask around. But if we're jumped into a gang and forced by fear of physical harm to commit crimes, and then rewarded when we complete the illegal task, we can learn that being a criminal is acceptable and how we stay safe and belong. And we call that in psychology operant conditioning. And also, if you are only rewarded when you engage in illegal or harmful behavior, let's say your family or caregivers or your only friends, reward you or laugh with you when you do something harmful to someone else, then you'll keep doing that harmful thing. We all want to be rewarded, noticed, and cared for. So we will learn to keep doing whatever it is that gets us what we need. And that is called classical conditioning. And I bring up all three types of learning to show you that it is possible to be shaped into becoming a criminal. That doesn't mean that we aren't still responsible for the choices that we make. We totally are. But I do believe that certain situations could, in essence, create a criminal. Now, I really love this TED Talk by John Rigg where he discusses how trauma to our brain can affect our behaviors. It's so fascinating, and I think another important thing to understand. Aside from people who commit crimes and are involved in illegal activity, there are also people with antisocial personality disorder. And I have an old video all about what it is and how it's diagnosed. So if you want to, you can click the link in the description. You can check that video out. But for the sake of this video, it's important to understand that people with ASPD can be criminals too. And the term antisocial in this context doesn't mean that they don't like to socialize. It really just means that they act in ways that are harmful or lack consideration for the well-being of others, meaning they just don't care what happens to other people, okay? And they'll act in really harmful, dangerous ways. Many with ASPD can be very charming and seductive in order to get what they want. So be careful out there, because you might not notice that they're, odd or harmful right up front. When famous psychologist Al Carlisle was asked to assess serial killer Ted Bundy to see if he could be dangerous to others in the future, he was supposed to assess, as if he can read the future. He can't, but he did a lot of assessments, and he reported that Bundy was really easy to talk to, super charismatic, well liked by others, but evasive when it came time for really difficult questions. Try to change the subject. Ask him things about himself. Now, what Carlisle was looking for was to see if Bundy broke rules easily, lied easily, stole from others frequently, or if he could quickly shift his personality to match that person that he's talking to. And surprise, surprise, he did all of these things. I mean, we know Ted Bundy is a pretty bad man. So maybe those are just some of the red flags that you and I should all be aware of in order to not engage with someone who could potentially be really dangerous. Now, finally, there are some signs that we believe are precursors to becoming a criminal. Aside from obviously parts of our brain, if they're underdeveloped or damaged, if we're around people who show us it's okay to be bad, right? We can also become a criminal if we're male. I know this is a bit crazy to say it this way, but statistically speaking, most criminals are males. I'm just throwing it out there. Next red flag is having a prior record of aggression, because if we've been aggressive in the past, we could be aggressive in the future. Also, if we've been physically abused in childhood, or we've had a substance abusing parent, that's a precursor too. Having a diagnosis of adjustment disorder, or evidence of psychopathy, a paranoid attitude, or if we fantasize about harming others. Now, I know some of these are kind of obvious, but others aren't. And they also find that those who've been diagnosed with ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, or CD, conduct disorder, are more predisposed for ASPD as well. Well, now that I've thoroughly scared you, or at least made you more aware of what causes someone to be a criminal, remember and know that not all people who are dangerous or are criminals will look like they are. Many are very good at fitting in and making people like them. So if something seems off, or if someone seems to only consider themselves and their own personal gain, be careful. Also, trust your gut. Even though these people can be very charming, there's usually just something off about them and the way that they interact with others. And they usually don't have any long-term close friends. So pay attention, ask questions, and protect yourself. And I also have videos on how to avoid or even manage toxic relationships. So if while I'm talking about this, that's something that's come up for you and maybe you're struggling with, click the links over there for more on that. I know this video was a bit different, but I hope that you found it interesting. I know I did. It was really fun to research it. But please let me know what you think. Do you like different topics like this? Would you prefer that I stick to more, specific diagnoses? Or are there traits or things that I left out that you'd like me to include? Let me know all that stuff down in those comments below, and I will see you next time. Bye!